Hi everyone. In today's video, we're going to talk about IIM Guwahati. Now, the admission process has been announced, so there was a lot of speculation going on exactly in terms of what is going to happen. So, definitely there is clarity on that front now. So, let's talk about what all things you need to keep in mind as an applicant. So, first things first, IIM Guwahati is the latest IIM, the 22nd IIM of India. And when you look at the admission process, they have kept it very simple this year, and it is slightly different compared to a lot of the other IIMs, especially the second and the third generation IIMs. When they started, the admission process that they followed involved interviews, but this time when it comes to IIM Guwahati, they have not mentioned interview as part of the selection process. In a way, for some of the applicants, that might be a good news, especially for those who generally struggle when it comes to doing well on the interviews. But I would say overall, it's not the best decision that they could have taken. Considering the delay that has happened in terms of announcing the entire admission process, and mostly because of that delay that happened, they now don't have enough time to conduct the interviews. Otherwise, I think they should have conducted at least online interviews to shortlist, to select candidates. But we have whatever we have. So let's understand what the entire admission process is going to be. So first things first, now you have the website. It wasn't there for a while, so we're wondering when the announcement is going to happen. So the website is now live. As you know, IIM Guwahati is mentored by IIM Ahmedabad. Another IIM that was mentored by IIMA is of course IIM Nagpur, and they have done well for themselves. So I hope it happens for IIM Guwahati as well. Now, there are three stages to it. The first stage is obviously the basic eligibility, and I'm sure all of you have taken the CAT, obviously have cleared that eligibility, which is minimum 50% in graduation, and then 45% when it comes to some of the categories that are there. So that is the stage 0 of it. So you don't have to go through it as such. But then if you look at the for the final year students, right, you have to complete the requirements of your graduation degree by June 30th. And the maximum date by which you can submit the proof that you have graduated is going to be 31st December, the way it is for some of the other IIMs as well. The first important thing is going to be the CAT eligibility. Now, for CAT eligibility, what they have done is, if you look at the cutoffs, it's very similar to some of the other IIMs as well, and they haven't reduced the overall percentile requirement significantly. So, if you look at the general and the EWS students, the overall percentile requirement is going to be 85, and this is for non-PWD students, 75 when it comes to each of the individual sections. Similarly, for NCOBC, that's 80-70, for SC/ST 75-65 and 65-55. Okay, so in line with what you see for some of the other IIMs as well. When you look at the PWD CAT cutoff, if you look at the figures, this is basically 10 less in terms of percentile compared to what it is for the non-PWD candidates. Okay, so you can go through it if it is applicable to you. So that's going to be the main eligibility, right? If you have cleared the overall and the sectional requirement, you are going to get a communication from IIM Guwahati about the next stage. We'll talk about that as we progress. So if you clear this, you qualify for the next stage, and then you have the final selection criteria. So what are the important things, right? So because they're not going to do VAT and interviews, how do they assess whether candidates will be the right fit for the institute or not? Is by looking at what they have done in the past. And when you look at that, it's going to be nothing but your 10th, 12th and graduation and your work experience. So the weightage of CAT in the final selection process is going to be 65%. So you have this normalized CAT score, etc., normalized application rating score. 0.65 is going to be your CAT weightage and 35% for the application rating, which is your 10, 12 graduation and work experience. So if we scroll down, we'll be able to see how exactly they're going to evaluate it. Again, very similar to other IIMs, how they look at 10, 12 graduation scores. So there are different brackets that have been created. So for 10th, for example, greater than 90 gives you maximum score. For 12th, again, greater than 90. And for graduation, as you can see, greater than 85. Now here, we don't have any sort of bifurcation the way it is for, say, an IIM Ahmedabad, where they divide students in different academic categories. We don't see anything like that mentioned here. It's just overall graduation. So they haven't given anything extra. And then finally, work experience. Regarding work ex, if you have less than 12 months, you get 0. If you are between 12 to 36, your marks keep increasing till they hit a maximum of 5. And then it starts reducing till it becomes 60 months of experience, which is 5 years. Post that you have 0, right? So you don't get any points if you have greater than 60 months of experience. Then there is information about reservation. All of this information, in fact, there is some particular section that I found, especially I think starting from here, which is the additional notes. All of this is, I think, copy pasted from the IIM Ahmedabad website, if you can actually check that out. But then they have this separate section which is not there on the IIMA website. So how exactly IIM Guwahati is looking at the entire application process or the admission process? So performance in CAT, and whatever the details of the candidates, when things are going to happen, and so on and so forth, right? So here, for example, they have given the age requirement that you must be at least 19 years of age, and so on and so forth. You can just go through it if you want to, but nothing very different from what you see at other places, right? So there isn't much to gather from this particular page. So now let's look at the important dates, right? So when things are going to happen, how it's going to unfold, let's look at that. So firstly, communication to candidates satisfying the basic academic and CAT eligibility, that's going to happen in the first week of May. And if you think of it now, considering IIMA result is already out, B and C should be out very soon. So most IIMs, because they announce the shortlist early, they have enough time to conduct the entire BAT PI process and then announce the result. But now considering they don't have that, that is why mostly they're relying on this 65% CAT and 35% application rating process, wherein they're saying that, okay, it's completely fine if we are not conducting BAT PI, we'll still be able to select reasonably good candidates, right? That's the assumption that they have made. So what they're going to do is they're going to send out a communication to students who meet the eligibility to express interest first of all, or confirm interest, and post that they so this is going to happen first week of May. So candidates satisfying basic academic and CAT eligibility will receive an email communication and all of that. They'll be required to complete the necessary steps. So that is going to be filling up the application form, right? The way it happens for other IIMs. And then communication to candidates selected for admission for the MBA program 1st June onwards. And generally, if you look at the IIM starting dates as well, it happens generally in the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd week of June. So you will have the final results coming in starting 1st June. So they will take some time to process, do the computation and all of that, and issue shortlist and so on and so forth. Now the question that a lot of you may have, right, is regarding the number of the seats, right? How many students they're going to take. So total intake is going to be 70 this year. And this is in line with what has happened for other IIMs as well in the past when they started in the first year. They don't like to take more than 100 students because it becomes difficult to place them. So the challenge for any new IIM is going to be how do we place the people that they take, right? And considering the fact that this particular IIM does not even have its own campus at this point of time. It's going to be at a temporary place. So I think the students who will enter the first 2 years, I mean the entire MBA program mostly will happen on the temporary campus itself, because establishing campus and then get running, right, it takes some time. So it's not going to happen very soon. So it may happen that students who join this year will end up spending the entire 2 years on the temporary campus itself. So 70 students is what it is. And if you look at the breakup, so 28 general, 7 EWS, 19 NCOBC, 11 SC, and 5 ST. That is the total 70 that you have. So the question that a lot of you may have, right, at this point of time is, should I consider this? Now, firstly, wait for the announcement, right? So once you get a shortlist, participate in the application process, the admission process, right? So fill the form and see what happens. Now, if you get a convert, you will have to look at what other converts do you have and then make a decision. So when you think of any IIM, right, and then the only thing that I thought is a very good comparison is going to be IIM Shillong, right? So what I've done is I'm just going to show you something about IIM Shillong, which a lot of us may have forgotten or may not know. So if you look at IIM Shillong, right, it started 2008, and they also, I mean, it was the first IIM in Northeast region. And if you look at it, so founding of IIM Shillong, commencement of operations at the palace of the erstwhile king of Mayurbhanj, right, Mayurbhanj. So this was because they didn't have a campus. So it may happen that a lot of IIMs, when they start, they don't have a permanent campus. So the approval happens, then of course that entire process that is there, it takes some time, and for whatever reasons they don't have a campus ready made where they can just start. So that is why things start from a temporary campus, and it's okay to have that, but it definitely compromises the MBA experience a little bit. So it's not going to be the best MBA experience that you will have at, let's say, some of the other campuses that are established. You're not going to have that sort of an experience, right? So there is going to be a bit of a struggle. Now, the good thing was, of course, the first batch that they had 63 students, and they were able to place all 63 students. But we are talking about a different time, right? We're talking about 2010 when the first batch graduated for Shillong. Situation was quite different that time, right? You didn't have so many B schools. We didn't have so many IIMs as well, right? So this was the seventh IIM which had started. And for them, it was easy to capitalize on that IIM tag, which say somebody like an IIM Guwahati will find it a bit difficult to do, considering now there are already 21 IIMs. The position of the placement of the institute is such that it will struggle a little bit to get recruiters in the first year. And what it also means is that whoever is joining will have to put in some effort to either upskill themselves more compared to what they're going to get from the B school, network more, and try to grab opportunities that otherwise may not happen, right? So you will have to really go out of your way to do a lot of things. When you are joining any B school's first batch, you are also somebody who is sort of deciding, because there are no set policies, right? There are no set clubs and committees and things like that. So you can go there and say, fine, tell them that, okay, hey, this is a club that I want to start, right? So you will be the member or the founding member of some of the committees or clubs, right? You could be, let's say, going to be the first batch of the institute. So maybe you'll be part of the first place com of the institute and so on and so forth. So a lot of firsts will happen because you are joining this B school, but it's also going to be a bit of a struggle, right? So it's not going to be easy for students who get in. And if you're walking in with that clarity, then you should definitely go. But if you think that no, you're somebody who doesn't want that, you don't want to have that sort of a struggle, and definitely an IIM tag, because now there are 21 IIMs and 22 IIMs now, the tag itself, I would not call it has diluted a little bit, but I'm going to say that you have other B schools as well, right? And now when you look at Shillong, for example, back in 2010 when students graduated, we are talking about 7 IIMs. So it still has a little bit of exclusivity that is associated. But now you have second generation and third generation IIMs and so on, right? So that is why be ready that it's not that IIM Guwahati tag which will save you or will get you placed. It's who you are and what you do inside that institute. So if you walk in with that, with the big idea that okay, I will just easily get placed and things like that, I think you are getting ready for a disappointment. But instead, if you enter with the assumption that placements might be a bit of a problem, but I'm going to fully focus on the kind of education that I'm going to get, and whatever I derive from, whatever max that I can derive from that experience and utilize the opportunities to the fullest, then you should enter. Of course, IIM Ahmedabad is mentoring them, so from an academic perspective, I don't think that's going to be an issue. In fact, when IIMs mentor other IIMs, what they also do is a lot of faculty members travel from one IIM, go to the other IIM, and take sessions in the first year. So it may happen that you have a lot of faculty members who are coming in from IIM Ahmedabad and taking sessions at IIM Guwahati. But again, as I mentioned, the placements is the thing that might concern a lot of students, and hence you have to be careful here. I'm not saying you don't participate in the application process. You definitely do that. Only once you have a convert in your hand, depending on what other options you have with you, you take a call. But till then, it's still a very good opportunity to consider because of the IIM tag that it has, right? So don't completely skip it. Don't don't look at what people are saying on social media and suddenly take a call that okay, hey, I'm not going to apply. I'm going to reject this institute. That's not what you should be doing. Um, Give it a fair shot, right? See, it's not that just because it's a new IIM, things will not be good, right? It's a bad assumption to make. I mean, if that had been the case, I think everybody who tries something for the very first time should be outright rejected. But that doesn't happen in life, so it shouldn't happen to IIM Guwahati as well. So give it a fair shot and consideration. Participate in the process if you're eligible. Wait for the final converts, and then take a call basis what all things you have in your hand and where do you stand with respect to your life situation at this point of time. If you think that no, I can wait for CAT 26 attempt, I've already started preparing for CAT 26, still participate, see what happens. At least you will have a convert and some happiness that you can carry. But otherwise, you just look at your life situation and take a call, because don't reject the institute just like that. So let's see how things unfold. We'll wait for the next set of announcements from IIM Guwahati. And I hope this video has helped you and given you something that you can think about. So wish all of you all the best, and I'll see you soon with further updates. Bye. Take care.